If you are constantly rushing to the store to buy boxes of chemical hair dye every 3 weeks just to cover up the gray, stop right now. You are fighting a losing battle. And worse, you are actually making the problem accelerate. You do not have a dye deficiency. Your hair is not just running out of color. It is running out of a very specific nutrient that your body desperately needs to produce pigment. And the second you understand what that nutrient is and why your hair is turning gray in the first place, you will literally throw that box of chemical dye in the trash. Let's get into it. Let's be brutally real about what is actually happening when your hair turns gray. Most guys think it is just a genetic curse, an unavoidable, inevitable part of getting older. Your dad went gray, your granddad went gray, so you are going gray. But look at it this way. Your hair is literally bleaching itself from the inside out. It sounds crazy, but it is exactly what is happening biologically. As we age, our bodies produce less and less of a critical enzyme called catalase. Now, what does catalase do? It acts as a cleanup crew. It breaks down hydrogen peroxide. Yes, the exact same stuff you use to clean a cut or bleach a stain out of a shirt. Your body actually produces hydrogen peroxide naturally inside your hair follicles as a byproduct of normal metabolic processes. When you are young, you have plenty of catalase on duty. That catalase grabs the peroxide and breaks it down into harmless water and oxygen before it can do any damage. Your hair keeps its natural color. But as we get older, especially past 40 or 50, our catalase production drops off a cliff. The cleanup crew retires, and when that happens, that hydrogen peroxide starts building up inside the hair follicle. It accumulates, and it literally bleaches your hair from the root, turning it gray, and eventually turning it completely white. So your hair is not just losing color, it is being chemically stripped of it by your own body's internal bleach. Now, I am not a professional doctor, but the biology and the research behind this are undeniable. And the damage does not stop with just bleaching the hair. Once that peroxide builds up, it triggers a chain reaction of destruction. It destroys another critical enzyme in your body called tyrosinase. Tyrosinase is the specific enzyme your body uses to manufacture melanin. Melanin is the actual pigment, the ink, that gives your hair its dark color. So you have a double whammy happening inside your scalp. You have internal peroxide bleaching the hair from the inside out. And at the exact same time, that peroxide is destroying the machinery your body uses to make the pigment to replace it. That is why your hair goes gray and stays gray. The factory is shut down, and the existing product is being erased. What do most guys do about it? They reach for the dye. They go to the pharmacy, they buy the stuff with the harsh chemicals, or they sit in a salon chair for an hour. But think about what hair dye actually is and what it does to your scalp. Hair dye is a cocktail of aggressive, toxic chemicals like ammonia, resorcinol, and parabens. Ammonia is used to forcefully pry open the hair shaft so the dye can penetrate. It causes severe scalp inflammation. Parabens and other preservatives in the dye disrupt your endocrine system. These chemicals seep directly through your skin into your hair follicles, increasing oxidative stress and cellular damage. Remember that hydrogen peroxide buildup we just talked about? The root cause of all graying? Oxidative stress makes it worse. Hair dyes actually contain more peroxide to strip your natural color before depositing the artificial color. So, by dyeing your hair, you are dumping more of the exact chemical that caused the problem in the first place directly onto the source. You are increasing the inflammation, destroying whatever remaining melanin-making ability you have left, killing the follicle, and guaranteeing that the roots coming in next month will be even more gray, forcing you to buy more dye. It is a vicious, endless cycle, and the cosmetic industry makes billions of dollars keeping you trapped in it. Instead of poisoning the follicle and accelerating the problem, you need to feed the follicle and fix the root cause. And that brings us to the gray hair nutrient, the most critical missing link for almost every guy walking around with premature gray hair is copper. Copper is the absolute game changer. It is the master mineral your body needs to produce that tyrosinase enzyme we talked about. Without adequate copper, your body simply cannot produce melanin, no matter what your genetics say. You could have the perfect genetic code for thick, dark hair, but if your body lacks the copper to activate the enzymes, the pigment factory stays closed. Your hair will lose its color. Copper is also essential for producing another enzyme called superoxide dismutase, which is one of the most powerful antioxidants in your body. It helps fight off that oxidative stress and protects your follicles from that internal bleaching process. But copper does not work alone. In order for your body to absorb, utilize, and activate copper properly, it needs cofactors. This is why just taking a random copper pill might not work, and can even be dangerous if you throw your mineral ratios out of balance. The most important cofactor for copper is vitamin B12. A deficiency in B12 is one of the leading, most overlooked causes of premature graying in men, and it is incredibly common as we age. B12 is required for healthy red blood cell formation. Those red blood cells are the delivery trucks that carry oxygen and nutrients to your scalp and your hair follicles. Without sufficient B12, your follicles are literally starving. They are cut off from the supply chain. The reason B12 deficiency is so common in older men is because your stomach acid decreases as you age. You need strong stomach acid to break down the protein in meat to extract the B12. So, even if you are eating a steak, if your stomach acid is low, you are not absorbing the B12. That means the delivery trucks are empty, and your hair loses its color. Then you have folic acid, or folate, which works hand in hand with B12 to build those red blood cells. And there is another lesser-known member of the B complex family called PABA, which stands for para-aminobenzoic acid. PABA is famous in the world of hair health for its ability to restore hair color by helping the body utilize pantothenic acid, which is essential for hair growth and pigmentation. PABA acts almost like a shield, protecting the follicles from the oxidative damage that causes graying. When you combine copper, B12, folate, and PABA, you are giving your body the complete set of tools it needs to restart the pigment factory and protect it from the internal bleach. So, instead of dyeing your hair and destroying your scalp, you need to start eating specific foods that are loaded with these exact nutrients. Let's start with copper, because that is the foundation. The absolute best source of bioavailable copper on the planet is beef liver. I know, a lot of guys hear liver and they want to gag. It is not a popular food in the modern diet. But if you can stomach it, eating grass-fed beef liver just once or twice a week will give you a massive, highly absorbable dose of copper, along with B12, folate, and iron. It is the ultimate superfood for reversing nutrient deficiencies. If you absolutely cannot stand the taste or texture of liver, shellfish is your next best bet. Oysters, crab, and lobster are packed with copper and zinc. Dark chocolate, specifically the high-quality raw cacao variety, is also surprisingly rich in copper. Just a small square of raw cacao can give you a decent dose. You can also get copper from sesame seeds, cashews, and mushrooms, but the animal sources are always the most bioavailable for the human body. For the B vitamins, especially B12 and folate, you need to be eating high-quality animal proteins and leafy greens. Wild-caught salmon, grass-fed beef, free-range eggs, and sardines are your B12 powerhouses. For folate, you need to be eating dark leafy greens like spinach, kale, and Swiss chard. Lentils and avocados are also great sources of folate. PABA is found naturally in whole foods like spinach, organ meats, and whole grains, but it is mostly known as a supplement. Now, let's talk about bringing back the cleanup crew to fight off that internal hydrogen peroxide buildup. Remember, without catalase, your body cannot stop the internal bleaching process, even if you have the copper and B12 to make the pigment. Foods that are incredibly rich in catalase include garlic, onions, leeks, and cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cabbage, and kale. Sweet potatoes and carrots are also loaded with catalase. Start cooking with fresh garlic and onions every single day. Make a habit of eating a big serving of broccoli or a sweet potato with your dinner. These foods are directly supplying the enzyme that breaks down the peroxide in your follicles. It is targeted internal defense. If you want to supplement because getting all these foods in every day is tough, you can, but you have to be smart about it. You can find catalase supplements on the market, often sold as anti-gray hair formulas, which usually combine catalase with copper and the B vitamins. Getting it from real food is always the most bioavailable way, but a high-quality supplement can fill the gaps. For the B12, if you are an older guy and your stomach acid is low, a standard B12 pill might not absorb well either. Look into sublingual B12, which dissolves under your tongue and goes directly into your bloodstream, bypassing the stomach acid issue entirely. For copper, again, you have to be careful. Copper and zinc need to be in a very specific balance in your body, roughly a 10-to-1 ratio of zinc to copper. If you take too much zinc, which a lot of guys do for immune support or testosterone, it will actually deplete your copper and make your hair go gray faster. If you take too much copper, it can cause toxicity and neurological issues. The safest, most effective way to get balanced copper without throwing your minerals out of whack is to take a whole food supplement like desiccated beef liver capsules. They give you the copper, the zinc, the B12, and the folate, all in the exact ratios nature intended, exactly as if you ate a piece of real liver. Now, let's address some of the hidden factors that are silently stealing these nutrients from your body and accelerating the graying process. Stress is the #1 nutrient robber. When you are chronically stressed, your body produces massive amounts of cortisol. Cortisol burns through your B vitamins like a blowtorch. It depletes your copper reserves. It increases oxidative stress, which shuts down catalase production. It also constricts your blood vessels, meaning those red blood cells carrying the nutrients cannot even reach your scalp. If you are a high-stress guy, working long hours, dealing with constant pressure, your hair is going to gray faster, and eating liver once a week might not be enough to outpace the damage. You have to manage the stress. You have to find ways to decompress. Walks, breathing exercises, whatever it takes to lower that cortisol. Then there is gut health. I mentioned earlier that low stomach acid prevents you from absorbing B12 from food, but it goes deeper than that. If your gut is inflamed, if you have leaky gut, or if your microbiome is out of balance, you are not absorbing any of these critical nutrients properly, no matter how much you eat. You could be eating the perfect diet, but if your gut lining is damaged, the nutrients are just passing right through you. Fixing your gut is foundational. Start by removing processed foods, refined sugars, and industrial seed oils that cause inflammation in the digestive tract. Eat fermented foods like sauerkraut or kimchi to rebuild your beneficial bacteria. Drink plenty of clean water. If the delivery system is broken, the packages cannot get to the destination. You also need to look at your environmental exposures. Heavy metals, specifically mercury and lead, can interfere with enzyme function and displace copper in your body. If you are eating a lot of large predatory fish like tuna, you might be getting a heavy dose of mercury, which is actively shutting down your pigment production. Switch to smaller, cleaner fish like sardines or wild salmon. Smoking is another massive accelerator for gray hair. Cigarettes are loaded with thousands of chemicals that cause extreme oxidative stress, completely depleting your catalase and destroying your follicles. If you are still smoking and wondering why your hair is gray, that is your answer right there. Let's also keep it completely real about expectations. If you are 60 years old and your hair has been completely white for a decade, eating a plate of oysters and taking liver capsules is not going to turn your hair back to the dark brown color you had when you were 20. Once the melanocytes, the actual cells that produce the pigment, are completely dead and gone, they cannot be resurrected. The factory has been demolished. However, if you are just starting to see those first few silver strands popping up, or if your hair is salt and pepper and you want to slow down the salt and keep the pepper, this is exactly how you do it. By feeding your body the raw materials it needs to produce melanin and fight off hydrogen peroxide, you can slow the graying process down to a crawl. In many cases, if the melanocytes are just dormant and not completely dead, you can restore some of your natural pigment and see the gray hairs start to darken at the moot. You are rebuilding from the inside out. You are restarting biological processes that have been shutting down for years. Give this dietary shift a solid 3 to 6 months before you judge the results. You are not going to see a change in a week. Hair grows slowly, about half an inch a month. It takes time for the newly nourished follicle to push out a visible difference on your head. Ditch the chemicals that are destroying your follicles and accelerating the graying. Stop dumping ammonia and peroxide onto your scalp and pretending that fixes the problem. Start eating the foods that actually build the pigment and protect the follicle. Add liver, shellfish, garlic, and leafy greens to your weekly diet. Consider a high-quality desiccated liver supplement and sublingual B12 if your diet is inconsistent. Let your body do what it was designed to do when you give it the right tools. Take control of the aging process instead of just covering it up with toxic paint. Your hair and your health will be better for it.